was really confused.
Cheers.
That little centimeter made a difference. I really like it. A little bit too much.
Cheers.
Particular. I know.
This one my stuff is nice.
This one's on.
I'll send the filter back.
Are you Maggie?
Yes.
So you can say a few words on this?
If he doesn't know on my side, say it was right, that's not, just not tomorrow. Yeah.
How things are going?
My kind of vacation is presentations.
I know.
Just
Precursor. We'll get done. Okay. All right, very good. Everybody all set here? What?
Yep, they're on.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the West Goshen Township Board of Supervisors meeting of June 17, 2025. Will you join me in making the pledge of allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm going to make an announcement that this meeting may be audio and video recorded by third parties. Of course, we also have it audio and video recorded ourselves for the township, but it may also be done by third parties. So at this point, I want to open up the floor to public comment. Again, this is just me for comments on something that's not on the agenda. So if anybody wishes to make any comments, now's your opportunity to do so.
Dr. Kamal.
Yeah, come on up and please give us your name.
Hi, I'm Maggie Stanton. I'm the library director at the Westchester Public Library. And I just wanted to be here tonight to let everybody know about our summer reading programs that we have set up. We actually have one for children. They can win prizes by just reading books. We have little medals for them to win, and there are gift baskets for them to win by the end of the summer. We also have it for teens and for adults. If you come in, you get a bingo card, read 4 books, and you can put it in for a raffle to win a Kindle at the end of the summer. We also have more programs coming up in the fall, including about retirement and how not to overlook certain important aspects. And we also have volunteer opportunities at the library all the time. One thing we're always looking for West Goshen as a contributing municipality to our library, we've been trying to find a board member to represent West Goshen on our board. So please always keep a lookout on our website for anything that's upcoming, especially when those positions become available.
Are there any positions available now?
We're gearing up for next year already, especially if we get somebody on, because it does take time. Any of our board members usually have to be approved by the Westchester Borough as well. So it does take a lengthy process to get on our board. So anybody who can get the works early, we prefer. So, and we're also hoping to be starting a friends group in the coming months for the library as well. So that's another place where you can volunteer as well.
Maggie, if you'd like, we're getting ready to do our June e-newsletter.
Okay.
If you would be able to, if you want to send me like a little article, I can put it in my submission. You can get it to me tomorrow.
Yeah, I can get that. No problem.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
The next time you were before us was in September. I guess you'll be coming back.
Yes, that's when I'll give our annual report for the library and request.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments we wish to make at this time? Very much.
Hi, good evening, Margie Swart. Just a couple comments and questions. I would first like to acknowledge and thank the board, specifically the board chair, a lot more transparency in announcing the executive meetings, a little more detail instead of just saying an overall broad topic. It's more specific, and it's greatly appreciated, and that just shows more transparency from the board's part, and it's acknowledged. And
But you understand sometimes we're not able to go into any detail because of the nature of the discussion. So.
yeah, correct. I believe, and this was as a result, I believe there was a ruling. I don't know if it was out of the Office of Open Records or if it was a state, but I think there was some ruling recently that came about that said townships must be more specific in their topics when they're announcing executive sessions. And the township has done that, so thank you. And in regards, in that line, along that line, it was mentioned, I believe, at the last meeting, there was an executive session in part when the topics was regarding the salary study that was performed, or at least approved back in February of 2025. And I don't know if you're able to be more specific as to why the results or anything contained in that salary study would fall under an exemption to have an executive session.
It's a personnel discussion.
Okay, can that study and the results of the consultant's work be placed online?
I would defer to our solicitor as to whether or not it would be a public record.
Okay. And then, let's see, 905 West Town Road, there was an appraisal done on that according to comments made at, I believe, last meeting. And I'm curious when that was approved to move forward.
Several months ago.
Yeah, I mean, that matter is somewhat of it crosses boundaries between a real estate matter potentially or a litigation matter. There's been cases filed against the property owner. So both of those topics were something that could have been discussed during an executive session as well.
Right, and I understand that, and that's
But as far as the specific date as to when it was authorized, I think Mr. Bayshore was given direction to find out the value of the property.
Okay, I just thought because that was most likely not included in the budget, that was something that was approved this year, that if indeed that was discussed in an executive session, fine, but then the vote to move forward to spend money on the appraisal would still need to happen in a public meeting.
Gotcha.
Okay, just going to bring that up. And it was also discussed at a recent meeting that the township went ahead and combined the sewer pension and the administration.
That is not true. It was, the board approved a proposal to do it. Nothing officially has been done yet.
Okay, but it is moving forward.
Yes, the board authorized that to be prepared. Our actuary is preparing the necessary documents, and when they're finalized, they'll be brought back before the board for final approval.
It actually has to go to hearing.
Okay, and that was, that's moving forward, if I heard it correctly, because the auditors had recommended that, or who recommended that?
There was every so many years, there's an audit completed by the Pennsylvania Auditor General's office, and the closeout from the audit that was done, I forget what year it ended, they recommended to combine the two non-uniform pension plans because they're virtually identical, and it was a verbal recommendation. It was not a finding in our audit.
Okay, yeah, and I would just like to point out that several times over the last 7-8 years, I know of at least twice that I had made that recommendation, that it didn't make any sense to me, just as a layperson, why you would have those two separate ones. And so it's nice to see. It's unfortunate you didn't look into that and ask about it when I brought it to your attention, and it was had to be brought to your attention from the state auditor. So just a comment. And then I occasionally get letters in the mail from, I don't know if it's from employees or concerned residents that aren't comfortable bringing some matters to the board. So I just have two comments here that maybe you can shed some light on. There was a newly created position of Assistant Public Works Director. And was that an advertised position?
No, we merged 3 divisions within Public Works, and that was discussed as part of our budgeting process.
Okay, so because it was a creation, though, of a new position, Assistant Public Works Director was a newly created position that was not advertised either internally or to the general public.
Doesn't need to be.
Okay. And then, unfortunately, I saw that where there was a police car accident on 202. Thankfully, I didn't hear of any injuries, which is great. But can anyone just comment on that? I heard that it was reported by a citizen, I guess, on social media that the vehicle was totaled. Is that accurate?
It's going through the insurance process.
Okay. Was it, I'm just curious, was it one of the newer electric vehicles or not?
No.
Okay. And the status of the employee who was charged with theft back in 2024, are they still employed?
No.
Okay, great. Thank you. Appreciate your help.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wish to make a comment at this time? Okay. Well, let's move on to the next item here. That's going to be a discussion regarding the zoning hearing board application number 12-2025, and that has to do with the property located at 315 Snyder Avenue. Would you like to take this, Shelby, and jump on this?
Yes, before the Board of Supervisors this evening is zoning hearing board application number 12-2025 for 300 Snyder Avenue. The applicants, Richard and Emma Smith, current owners of R. Smith Paving at 315 Snyder Avenue, intend to develop the property in order to provide storage for their equipment, material, vehicles for their business. No structures are anticipated to be constructed on the lot. This property is located in the I-2 Industrial Zoning District, and the use of a lot for contractors' establishment is permitted by right, provided that there are no retail sales conducted on the lot. The application was reviewed by the Township's Planning Commission at their meeting on June 10th. The Planning Commission recommended that the board remain neutral on their application. This application is scheduled to go before the Zoning Hearing Board next week at their meeting on June 23rd, 2025. The applicants and their representatives are here to answer any questions regarding the application that the board may have. So, Chris, are you going to take it over?
Yeah, I think Shelby did a great job covering it. My name is Chris Daly with Howe Engineering. Any questions you guys have, I would be happy to answer.
Well, what's being requested, what's going to be utilized? What are they going to use that property for?
So the owner who's here with me, Richie Smith, they own R. Smith Paving. He's actually located right across the street, this property here, and he wants to use this area to park his paving vehicles associated with his paving business.
So is there any planned development as far as buildings or anything of that nature?
No.
Strictly going to be a parking lot?
Correct.
Okay. And the hardship that you're claiming here that would be cause for the zoning hearing board to give you a variance is what?
In order to make the best use of this property, we have to go into the steep slopes to do that. There's no other way to build it. This is the smallest area that we have proposed here to be feasible for Richie to use. We laid it out the best way we can to avoid the steep slopes. As you can see, we have steep slopes right here in the middle of the property. So there's really no other way to construct this area to avoid this.
It's just the nature of the lot.
Yes.
And you're asking for two variances, correct? One that would exceed the impervious coverage of the area?
Yep, so one of them is you can't have more than 20% of the precautionary slopes be covered with an impervious area. We're exceeding that. And then the other provision is you can't have any impervious over the prohibited slopes. And we have a very small area, which is on the edge of the paved area here, along with the retaining wall. That is the
Any other questions from the board on this? I'll just make a comment that the planning commission did review this and their recommendation was to be neutral. So, does anybody from the board wish to make a motion here?
Neutral. Yeah, we'll
All right, so you're making the motion, are you seconding it? How do you-
Mr. Vice Chairman, if the board is remaining neutral, there wouldn't need to be a
All right,
motion
so
from
we'll
the
have
board.
to- okay. All right, so then we're just going to remain neutral in this and bring your case before the zoning hearing board, and good luck.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
And just so the board is aware, this application will be heard on June 23rd.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good case.
Okay, item number 5, continued discussion and possible approval of a request from the Westchester Fire Department for the relocation of 2 existing fire hydrants on Ballowell Drive and in addition to one new hydrant. Is there anybody here from the West? Okay. Please get up there and tell us why you want this to be done. And there was a second question also as to whether or not you can wait until Aqua does their work there for the installation of, and relocation installation of the new hydrant.
Absolutely. So Greg Whitmer, Assistant Fire Chief for the Westchester Fire Department. So we routinely, wow, not enough caffeine today, have communications with Aqua and discuss any of their potential projects that take place. We were under some planning assumptions that they were going to do some water main replacement on Ballowell, and in order to do that, we took advantage of the opportunity to try to be proactive and look at those fire hydrants. So the 2 fire hydrants you spoke of would be minor distance changes that would help us operationally as we respond to emergencies in that neighborhood. And then the additional hydrant on the east side of the Ballowell Drive at Goshen Road intersection would be no cost installation, but it would incur that monthly fee. So there was a couple questions that you said from the 21st meeting. No change in standard or problems identified in a previous incident. This is purely us taking a proactive approach to better serve the community in that area. As far as understanding Aqua's timelines, we're completely flexible. We understand their projects change in scope, times, and priority. So there is no immediate need for us to make these changes. We are just acting on the opportunity of them doing the work in the neighborhood. And then there was also, I believe, a question from the 21st on implication to other streets. Anytime we are aware of Aqua projects, we evaluate the hydrants and possible relocations that might better suit the operational needs. So we take that into account for any of the projects within our jurisdiction of our municipalities, including West Goshen. So at this point, there's no critical need. We are just taking the opportunity as they do their updates to make those modifications.
Any questions from the board?
So what's the total cost, monthly cost, is it monthly or yearly?
So the monthly rental rate is $32.38 for $388.56 annually.
Are any of these streets that you're mentioning, are any of them private?
Not to my knowledge.
So they're all dedicated to the township?
To my knowledge, yes.
I mean, I think it's what you guys suggest and you know, what you need, and that sounds perfectly reasonable to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Craig, just
Yes.
so I'm clear, I may have missed this one. You may have said which intersection of Ballowell and Goshen Road were you looking at the new hydrant
It
installed?
should be the east side,
The
closer
eastern.
to, I believe it is north of Matlack.
Here?
Yes,
Or
that's
here?
correct.
Okay, she
The
went to the east
private, right,
intersection.
yes.
Okay, east intersection.
I'll make a motion then to approve the relocation of 2 fire hydrants and the addition of 1 fire hydrant. I'll second that.
Any comments from anybody in the room? Any comments more from the board on this? Okay, we're ready to take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, looks like the ayes have it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, let's move on to item number 6. Discussion and possible approval of confirmation of compliance with conditions of conditional use approval pursuant to condition number 2 outline of conditional use approval granted for Westchester University. So, Ms. Camp, would you want to?
Sure. So, the board remembers, we recently had another conditional use application for Westchester University. They wanted to make some modifications to their geothermal pump station to put in cooling towers. In the review of that application, it was recognized that they had not filed the deed restriction that they were supposed to when they got their approval back in, I think, 2011. So we reiterated that condition. They had no problems with that. They just didn't record the document. So Mr. Nagel had actually, he pulled up emails that he had sent me way back when, but it never went anywhere. So that was just an oversight on everybody's part. So he, in the new conditional use approval, they sent this document to us. And it's been approved, and I actually have a signed copy. He scanned a signed copy to me today. So this has been signed. Sometimes there's a little bit of a delay when you're dealing with the Commonwealth because of all the different levels it has to go through. So I do have a signed copy. I told him that this would be on the agenda as long as the board is okay with it. They could go ahead and record it tomorrow, and then we can make sure that the parties who participated in the hearing are aware of the fact that this condition has been met.
Okay, so any questions from the board on this? So this is basically just doing what the conditional use requires us to do and the university to do, which is taking care of some business here, really.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to confirm this, so anybody want to make a motion to do so?
I'll make the motion to confirm this.
I'll second that.
Any comments from anybody in the audience regarding this?
Is this for a particular like land development?
It's with the geothermal pump house. Yeah, so the properties, when they first filed, they were 3 separate parcels. They merged them now, so it's specific to the property where the pump house is located. And they made representations that there wasn't going to be any further development of that lot. So this declaration memorializes that and puts it in their chain of title. Yeah.
Any other comments from the board on this? We should have ready to take a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Okay. Ms. Kim, do you need to leave us?
Thank you.
Did you have another engagement? Okay, item number 7. This is discussion and possible authorization to advertise for bid certain property in West Goshen Township. We have items which are up for sale, and they include the following: a 2012 Chevrolet Tahoe from the administration and public works, is a 2016 Ford F550, a 2012 International Work Star 740, 2014 Caterpillar 430D backhoe, and then from the police department we have a 2015 Ford Taurus, a 2019 Ford Explorer, a 2020 Ford Explorer Police Interceptor, and a 2018 Ford Explorer. So the authorization would be to put all those items up for municipal bid to be bid upon. So is there any questions here that the board members have concerning this?
Yes, I do. I'd like to make a comment regarding the 2016 Ford F550. I'd like to hold off on selling that for now, or putting it on municipal bid for now, because we're trying to work out something with the borough. We received, as I said in previous meetings, a $50,000 grant for an emergency blocking vehicle, which is an extenuator which goes on the back, but we needed a truck to be able to connect it to, so to speak. We've been looking for a while. We only have a certain amount of money to spend because the hookup and the other extension is going to cost us probably about $40,000. We've been trying to look around for a truck within our budget of $10,000. It's been very difficult. So I'd like to hold off selling that until we can work out with the borough and maybe have them purchase it or work something out with West Goshen. So if we could take that off for now, and we can always put it back on again if it doesn't work out.
Have they expressed like interest in purchasing it, or were they going to talk about that?
They're going to talk about, Chris had talked to Sean Matrix regarding it, and he really has to go back to the elected officials to make a decision. So the conversation just happened like a couple of days ago.
Okay.
So it's kind of new right now, and if we don't sell it to them or work out a deal, we may not be able to get the emergency lobby equipment at this point.
So would they,
because of-
so if they have $10,000 to use to purchase a vehicle, would they purchase this potentially for?
They would like to.
For 10,000?
Yeah. Well, we don't know what the price will be yet.
Okay.
We have to agree on what that price is. We could sell it to them for $1 if we want. The board has to agree on what that price is going to be for them.
Okay.
And right now, they have no money in the budget for this because obviously they didn't know it was coming, so.
Yeah, the emergency blocking vehicle would be such a piece of safety equipment. And this came about as part of the discussion with the Fire and EMS Coalition. They felt a real need for this. They don't have one right now. And what it is that there's a car fire or something like that where they would have to close down the road. This attenuating equipment would be placed in the direction of travel so that in case somebody would run into their operation, they would run into this instead. So it would be safety for both the firefighters and the EMS responders, but as well as the driver.
And we plan on sharing that with all the other townships too. So it's going to benefit a lot. Hopefully we won't have another police accident, like we had. If that had been like a road closure and the police was sitting on the side, that's just happened the other day. The police officer was hit. So any EMS personnel could really get hit in an emergency situation. So it's kind of needed. We're just trying to find out how we can make it all happen with $50,000 when they normally run anywhere between 40 and up to 250, depending on what kind you get.
Well, I think that's fine. I think it's good that you guys are looking into it, and yeah. I'm
If
fine
it doesn't
with
work out, we'll put it back on.
And it is like retrofitted to be able to,
Well, that would be part of the cost.
Yeah.
The 550 would have the frame that would be able to handle this equipment. So it's a good match.
it has the frame, okay.
Yeah, the 550 is what we're looking for actually, and this just happened to come available, so we can't afford 25,000 now.
Yeah.
So,
So I'm hearing from the board that they would like to remove that one item from the list here.
Well, what I was gonna recommend was the board could authorize the entire list for sale as prepared. We just wouldn't list the 2016 F-550 until we know the results of if the borough is going to do it that way. If the borough ultimately says no, we can just go ahead and list it with the authorization granted by the board. So we don't have to come back here for further approval.
that works.
Now, if we authorize the entire list, it would be any problem for us to remove it from the list and then sell it to the borough as part of this arrangement?
You're authorizing it to be sold, so if it's getting sold to the borough, then it would come back to the board for approval to sell it.
Okay.
We just would store it, we just wouldn't list it up on municipal when we set everything up. to
So it
go
wouldn't
on.
be available to be bid upon?
Correct.
Okay, is there anything within the municipal code that requires us to get the highest possible price for a vehicle? Or can we essentially donate it or give it to another municipality?
Under the second-class township code, based on my review of it, if you were giving it to another municipality, you do not need to go off of fair market value. It would just be whatever the agreed-upon price is. There is no provision in that section of the code, 1504 C2I, there is nothing there that says it has to be sold at fair market value.
All right. So, any other thoughts here? Or anybody, if anybody wishes to make a motion here?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
Any comments from the, any of the residents here on this?
Just so I'm understanding it correctly, the motion is to sell all these items, we just won't list the 550 until we know from the borough.
That's
Okay.
correct. Okay, with no other comments from the board or from the residents here, we'll make a vote here. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, moving on. Okay, item number 8. This is the reports for the month. Chief Michael Carroll, you're up.
Thank you. The report from the police department for May of 2025, we responded to 2,210 calls for service. 43 of those were alarms, one which was deemed valid, 80 accidents, and 21 of those were reportable accidents. And in total, we drove 24,461 miles. Aside from our normal monthly trainings, we continued with our spring range training and our transition to new weapons. We continued with our CPR and EBOC training that the entire department is doing. Officer Boyle attended an advanced sniper school. Officers Kennan, Needham, Virgilio, and Walsh attended a National Insurance Crime Bureau training. And Sergeant Bryson and Officer Ass attended the Institute of Police Technology Symposium, which is a traffic crash symposium. Of the alarms I spoke of earlier, only one was of the highest fine violation, which is either the 6th or 7th violation of the year. We responded to 22 calls to assist other agencies for about 9 hours of service, and we received 24 assists from other departments. And in addition to that, I'm going to remind you that our next coffee with the cop is July 12th, down off of South Matlock Street on Carter Drive. All of our gumshoe camps have been filled, and they begin the week of July 7th is the first one, and National Night Out is August 5th this year. And with that, that's the report. I'll take any questions you might have.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for the chief?
Chief, I see that we assisted in a shooting and we also had an assist for a shooting. Could you tell us what that was about?
I would love to, but I can't.
Ah,
Because I'm not, does it say who we assisted? That might help.
we assisted WeGo and their assist to media.
I think WeGo's was a suicide. Yeah. And what did you say the second one was?
Media.
Media was probably a phone call assist with family or something.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I can confirm that, but that's what I believe.
I had two, if you could explain it to me. On your alarm summary, alarm violations, there's a offensive count 1 and there's 25 violations, but there's no billed amount and no received amount.
I'm sorry, which?
Same with the second. This chart right here, Mike?
Okay.
Yes,
Give me
where
a
it
second.
has,
That's
actually, there's two. There's one that has 25 violation count.
No, that's 25 separate. That's not one person. That's 25
Okay.
first timers.
First timers, but no money, no penalty.
You don't get
involved.
fined on the first 2 times.
Okay,
That's the first.
That's why there's 0 amount. You don't get billed for the first 2.
okay, okay. And then, same with the 6,
Yep.
okay. And then, second thing on the next page is Kessler Israel. They've had, what, 3 violations within 1 month, or 3 alarms within 1 month, 7, 11, and 13? Is that something they're working on?
That's what it says. That's what happened. And
I'm just curious if
they
you're
are
doing
not.
that.
They were not the highest violation, so that's something new for them. I'm sure they're working on it.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question, Mike. I don't know if this has come up before to the board or to you directly, but I've been hearing from residents over the past several weeks that there's a car in our possession, a police vehicle, that I guess is undergoing some maintenance, that the P and the O and the L are missing.
Yes.
That was true.
That's true.
Okay, so what's the status of that?
That's been repaired.
Okay, so no more.
P, O, and L have been restored.
Okay.
Not, well, it was, yes, but not this one.
Thank you.
It was brought up earlier this evening. I'm not asking for any great detail, but what's the status of the officer who was involved in the accident?
Yeah, it turned out she did have some minor injuries, but she's recovering nicely. Expect her to be back very soon.
Is she doing okay?
Yep.
Good to hear. And extend the board's concern to her.
Absolutely.
Any other questions for Chief Carroll? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving along here. Board of Supervisors announcements. I guess we'll start with Nate. Nate, do you have any announcements?
Yeah, May 22nd, I attended the Historic Commission meeting. May 27th, attended America 250 meeting where we discussed more about the parade that's going to take place in 2026 on May 30th, and additional events involved with the 250 celebration. May 30th, I attended the cemetery tour of Green Mountain Cemetery. This is something that I suggest anybody attend. It's extremely interesting just to learn about some of the people that have lived in West Goshen and are buried here. June 6th, I attended the Zoom meeting pertaining to the Park and Open Space Plan. June 9th, I attended along with Mr. Walsh an update meeting on our zoning ordinance plan. And then June 17th, attended a meeting with Linda from Dandelions Digital to discuss what additional items they are adding to, or may be adding to our media coverage. That's it.
Okay. Tina, you want yours?
Yeah, May 27th, we had our live SAC meeting. May 29th, I attended the Special Olympics run with the West Goshen Police, which I didn't do real well, but they are extremely fit and did very well. But it was a fun day. June 5th, we had a Public Works luncheon appreciation. I attended. And I also did the Dandelion Digital meeting today. And just an announcement that there will be a concert on June 29th over at the community park. The band is called Sam's Stetson Band. If anyone wants to attend. That's it.
Okay. Ashley?
I just have one announcement. I attended the land planning meeting on June 4th with our consultants that we're working with to update our zoning ordinance. And one of the topics of discussion at that meeting was signage in West Goshen, temporary signage along the roads. I know that a lot of people express some concern about the number of signs that we see out on Westchester Pike, which is actually the PennDOT right of way, I believe. And PennDOT actually prohibits signage out there, but we also discussed the township right of way. And so we're working to come up with some good solutions for the township that allow people to post signage, but also keep it clear and hopefully less clutter.
Anything else?
That's all.
Okay. For myself, Friday, May the 23rd, I attended the solar array project meeting update. For that project, construction is complete. We're waiting for PICO to do a meter tie-in and to issue a permit to operate, and we'll be making electricity here. So I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully that'll be happening over the next month or so. And on Tuesday, June the 3rd, I attended the meeting with Alan Myers, paving contractor. And also later that day, witnessed the drone flyer of Building D, which is that same project I just mentioned, the solar array project. June 4th, I met with Ann Toole. She's the consultant for the West Goshen Township for the developing a parks plan. That plan should be coming out sometime in July. Also on June the 4th, I met with the Land Planning Committee for further discussion of the zoning ordinance rewrite that Ashley just mentioned. On Thursday, June the 5th, attended the Public Works recognition luncheon along with Tina Marie Smith. And Tuesday, June the 10th, participated in the Planning Commission monthly meeting as a board liaison. And on Thursday, June the 12th, participated in a forum about diversity, equity, inclusion, what it is and how this will bring value to our community. Other participants were county commissioners and 2 sitting members of the Westchester Area School District. And on Tuesday, June the 17th, attended the monthly board liaison meeting with Chief Carroll along with fellow board member Tina Marie. That concludes my report. Okay, all right, moving on, folks. Township manager's announcements. Chris, you're up.
Mr. Vice Chairman, I will start by adding a little bit more to the report regarding the solar energy arrays. Indicated construction is completed. We're waiting on PICO. We actually did, Brian and Emily in our codes department actually did 3 flyovers for the drone. They did a pre-project and in progress and a completed. And we're going to upload that information up to the website at some point. We have filed all the records that we and documents that we have to date with them for the IRA reimbursement, and we're just waiting for the meter time and information on when it was put into operation. I have added it to our insurance schedule, so that is all up to date. I will note that there were no change orders for the project, so everything should come in as awarded at $484,000. We're still waiting for the operation and maintenance documents from Terrasol and for Keystone to finish their review. And I believe our engineering costs are going to be about $30,000 less than what was approved by the board. So I think overall it's going to come in under the original budgeted amount for the project. Mark and Mike did a great job on kind of coordinating everything, particularly Mike sort of overseeing it, but they were great to work with, and so was Kirsten from Keystone. I'm really happy with how it came out. The project looks great.
And do you have all the documentation that you need in order to apply for the reimbursement under the Inflation Reduction Act?
Yes, I filed everything that I have to date. With the only thing that I am waiting on is PICO. I need to put in the placed in service date, but I have submitted every single piece of documentation that I have to date. with the exception of the check that we just issued to Keystone today.
And how about for the PICO reimbursement incentive?
So I believe that everything on the PICO incentive is similar to the IRA rebate. However, we need 2 months of inverter data. So there is one where there's a connection issue, internet connection issue between the inverters and the Wi-Fi. So Mike is working on that right now. So once we get the inverters up and we actually start generating electricity, then we can file for that. But we need 2 months of data. So if we get online beginning of July, looking probably sometime beginning of September when that would be filed.
Also, there's a TV screen sitting up there in the vestibule. What's that about?
That is the monitor to show, that was included in the contract to kind of show the energy generation. But because we're not generating anything, it's not live. It would just be
So
one.
that'll show in real time when our electricity is being produced?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
And in order to make it, Ken had this idea, and he's working with Mike on it. In order to make sure that it doesn't go to sleep, we're going to integrate that with the sign that we have at the intersection of Fern Hill Road and 5 Points Road to kind of show public events and things going on in the community, interspersed with the electricity that's being generated.
That's a really good idea. Can we share the flyover footage on our social media so people can see what it looks like?
I believe Mr. Walsh is going to do an article, so we can certainly share it. I mean, Brian, do you have a problem?
No, you can share it. I have it up to show tonight. You can
Yes.
see it. Final flag.
I think that people might be interested if we could put it on our social media.
I agree. I think that Mr. Walsh was planning to do an article and include those in the article, and the articles that the board provides do go on our social media, so it can be shared. It'll be shared that way.
Okay.
And then we can set up anything that we want with it. But the videos that Brian gets it queued up, we can kind of show it real quick right now.
We'll put it on this monitor that we have downstairs in the vestibule.
Yeah, here's the final flyover.
It looks great.
It's fine as you were.
I'm flying this. Emily does the pictures. I do the videos. On this one. That's me right there in the corner.
Yeah, I think it looks great.
As someone who does routinely head north on 202, it does look pretty nice. It does pop from 202.
Should we have kids now? Well, yeah, we should
Yep.
share.
Yeah.
Put it with Sean's article. It's fine.
Excuse me, Brian, how do you get it so stable? Is there image stabilization on that?
No, drone's flying itself. I program it and it flies itself. I'm just monitoring it, making sure that it doesn't hit anything.
So it's
The
very-
drone itself is self-leveling. I'm not hand flying it. It's programmed.
no
So
air-
every flight we did over the building was the exact same for monitoring the building.
It's very stable. There's no turbulence or no
I agree.
vibration.
Yeah.
It's almost like,
It's a very
like a
good picture,
computer.
too.
You have to pick your battles when you fly. If it's too windy, it's going to move. But we flew it on June 3rd. Yes, yeah, June 3rd we flew it.
And we'll have 3 of those. Like I said, they did a pre-flight before any construction happened. I think he did that in March. He did one while it was in construction, and they did the one that was just shown after construction.
Yeah.
So we'll share all 3 of them.
Yeah.
Put music. Put it out there.
And what do you suggest for music?
Oh, I don't know, we can talk about that.
And just for the record, I just want to say, not only are we mitigating climate warming, but also we're saving the township money. So I think it's a win-win situation all the way around.
All right. So that's everything on the solar projects. I'll just hit a few other high points. So the township offices will be closed on Thursday, June 19th in recognition of the Juneteenth holiday, and on July 4th in recognition of the 4th of July holiday. Our next e-newsletter is scheduled to go out on June 20th. I want to recognize our Director of Wastewater Operations, Michael Maffa. He recently completed the Delaware Valley Trust Municipal Leadership Program, which is a free program that's offered through a partnership to members of the trust and a partnership with Penn State University's Abington campus, and he completed 49 hours of classroom instruction on a wide variety of municipal topics. So thank you. Congratulations to Mike for finishing that program.
Yeah, congratulations.
As Mr. Hellman indicated, we had our pre-construction meeting for the 2025 paving program on June 3rd. We're going to be paving approximately 4.4 miles of roadways. We will be publishing an article in the newsletter outlining the roadways that are going to be repaved. And then we are also going to be posting information as it gets closer to the start on the township website. So the contractor is anticipating to begin in August with approximately 3 weeks worth of work, weather permitting. As indicated, the salary and benefits analysis was, the status review was completed, and so the board will need to discuss the next steps as it relates to that process. As it relates to the Rosedale Avenue sidewalk project, I indicated previously that I had no updates. I actually spoke to the property owner today, and we are scheduled to sign the easement document on June 24th, so that will be in front of the board at your meeting on July 1st for approval. So once that's signed and recorded, we'll proceed forward with that project. Brian, sorry, I had that conversation with her at like 3 o'clock this afternoon. I apologize.
That was one of my questions.
Yep. No, that she was fine with everything, so we're meeting her in the morning on June 24th to sign everything. In terms of the Westchester University Master Plan, I have spoken with the manager of Westchester Borough in terms of doing that as like a joint process, so I think that's a discussion, we should have a discussion related to processes at a future date. Brian's made a couple of good suggestions as it relates to that, and we can discuss that further.
Any idea, anticipated when that may occur?
They gave us an extension through August 31st. I'm kind of thinking we're going to need another extension to kind of go into the fall. Just based on my conversations with the applicant and our initial review of everything, there is a significant amount of documentation to be reviewed. As it relates to the improvements at West Goshen Community Park, there are a few outstanding items on the punch list that need to be corrected for the first phase of improvements, including the basketball net height and positioning and stabilization of the rain garden. But otherwise, the project's complete, and Carroll Engineering anticipates closing it out in the next 2 weeks. They are working on the plans for the restroom expansion portion of the project, and the township's application to DCED for the Greenways, Trails, and Recreation Program for the splash pad component was filed on May 28th. And I did receive an email from DCED that our application appeared to be complete, and they anticipate awards will be announced in early 2026. So that would be a similar timeline to what we heard from with the last go-around.
And what is the grant amount that's being requested for that?
$250,000, which is the maximum allowed under the program. The project cost greatly exceeds that, but the whole goal of this was to combine as much funding as humanly possible. And then lastly, as it relates to the North Hills stormwater improvements, we've executed all the contract documents. We are going to have a pre-construction meeting with the contractor internally on June 24th, but we're also working to schedule a meeting on site with the property owners who granted us easements. We're trying to coordinate that. Lining up everyone's schedules is a little bit difficult, but I think we'll get something done in the next 2 weeks.
I have a quick question for you, kind of going back to the splash pad.
Yes.
I'm glad that our application is in. Let's say hypothetically we were not to receive the funding and we find out at the beginning of 2026 that we didn't get the award. Are we going to do we need to do some planning leading up to that decision? Are we able to do planning, like working with engineers to come up with the final design? They get quotes for how much it's going to cost, so that if we don't get the funding, we can still proceed with the project in late spring or summer.
We can't really do any work on it until we know anything about the award. However, Chris has the plans in I'll say 90%. So he's got them pretty far along. There's just some final touches that need to be done on them. So assuming, I think last year the awards were announced, I want to say in February. So that would still kind of give us enough time to sort of plan things out. I don't know if we want to actually do construction over the summer because of Community Park, but we would probably be able to bid things out, get things awarded in an effort to have things ready to go for construction once camp is finished. It may not be operational until 2027. I know that's not ideal, but I don't think we can have Community Park ripped apart during For something that large,
But we're looking at potentially construction next fall.
Potentially,
Fall
yes.
2026.
potentially, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, and part of the email that I got from DCD said you can't do any work until funding is announced.
Yeah. That
So.
makes sense. I get that. Yeah. That's fine.
Board have any other questions? Okay. All right, moving on then. Township engineer stormwater announcements and Woodlands at Greystone update. Brian, you're up.
So first announcement is on June the 10th, we conducted the walkthrough with the contractor for the Government Services Center basin, and at the same time I did fly it for a progress flight. The basin is substantially complete. The substantial certificate of completion was issued by Carroll Engineering on June 13th for substantial completion. So now the contractor has a 1-year maintenance period where they are responsible to maintain the basin for the next year until June 13th, 2026. At that point, then the township will maintain the basin. So this is the basin as finished. You can see with the green lines through the basin, that's the flow channels. You can see where it's starting to vegetate. There's plugs all over the place. There's thousands of plugs, and there is trees. And one of the punch list items was to finish the deer fencing for the trees to try to allow them to grow. So it's a very minimal punch list, but this is the completed basin. So this project is done, and I will be getting some closeout paperwork from Carroll Engineering to include in our MS4 report for it goes in September for what the set of reduction for this is.
You could do this flying stuff way more. I love it.
It
I
just
love
depends-
being able to see that
it just
while you're
depends
talking
on what-
about
It
it.
depends on what it is and where it is.
Yeah.
That's what
You
it
could do
is.
it, right?
So that's my stormwater update. The reporting year for the MS4 ends June 30th, so any projects that are approved by June 30th will go in your report. So all the backcheck reports, all the street sweeping reports, all that will be compiled, and that report is filed by the end of September. Additionally, we need to file our 5-year report to document we did in the first 5 years of the permit. That is in September as well this year, so I have 2 reports to do.
So who reviews that, and did they conduct an audit for there?
We were audited in December for our, by PADEP reviews it, and PADEP did audit the township in December.
So they should be satisfied that we're pursuing REMIS for permit.
In December, they went, I can't tell you, but
We'll see what happens now.
December, yes. Because rules and regulations are changing day by day. As far as the Woodlands of Greystone, I'm working with still working with through the punch list that was originally created and monitoring the trails for the storm damage that happened on May 16th. I gave the developer 3 weeks to fix it, so I'll be going out next week to see what he didn't fix or what they didn't notice, and generating another punch list for storm repairs. I did notice there was some, last time I was out there, which was last week, I did notice that some of the trails have been repaired, there was other trails that haven't, so maybe they're making progress, maybe not. Chris, what's the update on the dams? They're still going back and forth between the developers, engineers, they're playing phone tag or something?
Still going back and forth with DEP, as far as I know.
So yes, the one dam that needs to be repaired has not been repaired yet. So I will be doing the punch list and also going through the approval matrix again, to check off what I can. So that's hopefully will happen within the next week or 2. I was supposed to go out last week, but the day I was scheduled to go out was raining, so I figured I'd wait until it's not raining.
Any guesstimation when the park will be ready for dedication to the township?
Depends on when they fix it and how much they want to fight what I ask them to fix.
Okay, all right, keep on top of it, all right. I'm just curious, have you had any discussion with the tool consultants about park management of Greystone?
No. They have not talked about Greystone. My understanding, the Greystone Park is going to be maintained as is, with no park improvements.
Yeah.
We have a lot of areas, a lot of the land in the park is restricted land. It's steep slopes, it's wetlands, it's buffer areas along the streams that our ordinances prohibit development within. So there really isn't any area that we have to develop.
When I had my one-on-one with her about the parks plan, she she seemed to have a lot of ideas about what should be required for that management, of that even being kept as a natural piece of open space. At some point, it'd be worthwhile to have a discussion as to what they have in mind, because they're going to be part of the parks plan.
I do know from a maintenance perspective, Mark and a team of, I believe, 5 individuals from the Public Works Department have been out to the Serpentine Barrens with their consultant twice, once on May 1st, and I think the other time on May 19th.
Yeah, May 19th was the spraying when they had 2 guys for the entire day to spray.
Yeah.
And they'll be back again within a month, probably again this month to hit it again, because I was through it, and not all the areas they sprayed worked. It's a the plan says you do it twice a year. The streets department told me they do it monthly. In the summer, they're out there once a month to spray.
Yeah, so Mark has a team of, it's him and I believe 4 or 5 other crew members that have been going out trying to learn everything. Mark has spoken to me that he thinks it might be beneficial for us to get a per hour rate proposal from Scott Bush to act as a consultant as they sort of learn things and move on. Mr. Bush was the one who did the maintenance plan that was approved by DCNR. I tend to agree with Mark's recommendation. I think it would be helpful, especially if it's on an as-needed per hour
think Scott was
basis.
willing to work with us?
I'm not sure. I can have Mark or Brian have that dialogue with him. But it would be something we would kind of gear up towards as we get closer to dedication.
Yeah, it'll be for next year's budget.
And for spraying for the invasive, that's pretty extensive from an environmental standpoint, safety standpoint, equipment standpoint. You may want to consider third party hiring them from a safety standpoint.
Yeah, we might be looking to do that. That's
Especially
another suggestion Mark and I talked about, was doing a third party for that, because we don't have the equipment here. We'd be buying specialized equipment just for that.
Exactly. And
And-
chemicals that are involved and all that, it would just be easier,
Yes.
especially if you have to do it monthly.
And-
Easier just to sum that out.
Yes. So, any questions for me?
Anything else on the board? Brian? All right, thanks, Brian. All right, moving on, zoning officer announcements. Shelley, you're up.
The only announcement that I would like to make this evening is that the zoning hearing board application for Kia of Westchester has been continued until June 23rd, as the applicant was working with the adjacent property owners in some of their concerns. So this coming Monday, Kia's application will go before the zoning hearing board, as well as the application heard this evening for 300 Snyder. Any questions you might have, I can answer.
I actually have one question concerning 905 West Town. There's been a number of citations issued and not complied with. As a result, warrants were issued. Do you have any date for when the hearing will be before the magistrate for those warrants?
I did get a call from the district justice's office, I want to say last week, sorry, and they had noted that they are looking to schedule it for late June, early July. And once a date has been set based off of the judge's schedule, due to the amount of citations received, the judge's office believes that it will take a significant amount of time, so they're looking to block out a large couple of hours, a large section of his schedule. However, like I said, they're looking at late June, early July.
Okay. To your knowledge, have the warrants been served to him?
That I do not know.
Okay. Any other questions for Shelby? Okay. All right, finally, we're talking about item number 13, approval of the supervisors meeting minutes for May the 21st, 2025. Does anybody on the board have any changes they would like to suggest? I don't have any either. All right, so somebody want to make a motion to approve these minutes?
Make a motion to approve minutes. Second.
Okay. Any further discussion from the board on the minutes?
Actually, I wasn't at the meeting, so I need to withdraw my motion.
Okay. Somebody want to make that motion?
I'll make it.
Hey, Mr. Vice Chairman, I did actually just notice now a typo in one of the paragraphs with someone's name that I will correct before these are posted. It's in the second paragraph under public comment.
Okay.
I will make that change before they're posted.
Okay. All right. I agree. Just take a vote then. All those in favor? Say aye.
So with the change.
Well, with the changes, yeah.
Well, did,
Well, I withdrew my motion, so someone needs to make a motion.
Yeah. Nate has made the motion, Tina seconded. With the caveat that we're going to include your correction.
thank you.
So, with that being said, all those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Yeah. Anyone opposed? Okay, 4-0.
Well, 3-0.
I'll record it as
You're not even, you're not even.
3-0-1.
I have to abstain.
All right, you're gonna, all right. All right, our final item then is approval of the treasurer's report for May the 31st and the bills to be paid. Any questions on the board about the bills that are pending?
Questions?
Okay, someone want to make a motion to approve the bills?
I'll make the motion for this.
I'll second.
Any other comments from the board on this? Any questions from the residents? Okay, let's take a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Case 4-0. Okay, with that, I'm going to close the meeting at 7 o'clock. Can we motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay. And all approved?
All.
Okay, great, thank you.
Well, do I need to sign it?